Welcome to today's episode of our podcast, where we delve into the world of social work and the pivotal role that human rights play within it. I'm your host, Jamie Lee, and I'm thrilled to be guiding you through this insightful discussion on applying human rights to the social work profession. In the next 10 minutes, we will explore how the abstract principles of human rights translate into the real-world decisions made by social workers every day. These choices affect individuals, families, and communities alike. It's a fascinating interplay between ideals and actions. Across the globe, social work is now explicitly recognized as a human rights profession. But what does that really mean? It means that social work is grounded in principles of dignity, worth, equality, and social justice. Yet there can be a real challenge in translating these rights into practical actions. In various settings, whether it's tight resources or unequal power structures, turning human rights language into everyday practice is no small feat.
It's true, Jamie. The mission of modern social work is not just about helping people in need. It's about enhancing human well-being and meeting basic human needs, particularly for those who are vulnerable and oppressed or living in poverty. This intention aligns closely with international human rights documents, which seek to root out oppression and create conditions where all can thrive and develop their humanity. Let's unpack that a bit.
Absolutely. At its core, social work is driven by a mission to challenge discrimination and uphold the rights of all individuals, a commitment formalized in codes of ethics, like the National Association of Social Workers, the Appiah Code of Ethics. This code articulates core values of social justice, dignity and worth of the person, significance of human relationships, service, and competence.
So we're talking about a commitment to ensure that social workers don't just respond to needs as acts of charity. Instead, they actively challenge inequalities and promote participation in the rights of the people they serve. These values are essential to their work and decision-making processes every day.
Next, let's break down how the laws translate to lived experiences. Human rights instruments and anti-discrimination laws state that governments must not discriminate based on characteristics such as gender, race, age, religion, or disability. However, on paper, many states have watchdog agencies that promote compliance. But what happens when individuals need to file a complaint? It's often a daunting process.
Exactly, Jamie. For many people, particularly those without legal resources, filing a complaint can be intimidating and time-consuming, and often frustrating. Employers might focus more on defending against claims than actually addressing discrimination. Settlements can erase findings of wrongdoing, showcasing a significant gap that exists between legal guarantees and the lived experiences of discrimination. This realization asserts that social work must move beyond mere legal compliance.
Indeed, social workers need to advocate for fair processes and equitable conditions in their settings. This kind of advocacy is deeply rooted in the historical context of social work, which has its origins in humanitarian and democratic ideals. These ideals focus on challenging inequities and the unequal distribution of resources. It's fascinating how this legacy shapes our profession today.
And as we go through these professional ethics that require social workers to confront discrimination and promote democratic participation, it's imperative to reflect on current practices and how they may still echo the voices of those in power while possibly marginalizing others. Critiques of such codes highlight the need for ongoing vigilance and improvement.
Moving on to crucial interventions in social work, let's talk about what it means to challenge oppression. This refers to the unjust use of power that creates and maintains unequal structures, affecting individuals and institutions alike. Social workers often engage with people who are marginalized due to various social characteristics, whether that's race, class, gender, age, or disability.
Yes, this notion of oppression is incredibly significant. What's alarming is that repeated exposure to such conditions can lead to internalized oppression, where individuals start to perceive themselves through the negative stereotypes imposed by society. That's a heart-wrenching reality, but it's one that social workers are keenly aware of in their practice.
The role of social workers, then, is twofold: to help individuals recognize and resist these internalized narratives at a micro level, while also advocating for macro-level changes that transform discriminatory policies. Wouldn't you agree that this dual approach is essential?
Absolutely. And this leads us to the empowering aspect of social work. Empowerment, as a human rights-oriented intervention, examines how access to power and resources and the lack thereof contributes to experiences of oppression. It's vital for personal empowerment, which enables clients to make decisions regarding their situations and to think critically about changing their circumstances.
And don't forget about social empowerment. This extends the concept to recognize that individual choices are heavily influenced by social contexts. This includes collective action, supportive networks, and access to opportunities, all of which help individuals realize their rights. For instance, an organizer working with a community can help residents secure healthcare or fair wages. That's real empowerment.
Great example. And this is complemented by what's referred to as the strengths perspective. It's an essential approach that encourages social workers to focus on the capacities and resilience of their clients, rather than seeing them solely through the lens of deficits or pathologies. A strengths perspective recognizes that structures of injustice often isolate individuals and groups from necessary resources.
Exactly. By identifying and mobilizing these strengths, social workers can effectively advocate for rights-based changes. Instead of viewing a client merely as an individual with problems, they explore the coping strategies and community resources that help bolster their dignity and agency. This transformation in focus can produce profound outcomes.
And this brings us to the critical global standards and future directions for social work. Prominent international bodies, such as the International Federation of Social Workers, affirm that human rights and social justice are foundational to social work worldwide. It's encouraging to see these principles recognized widely.
A significant milestone occurred in 2004 with the adoption of a new international ethical document in Adelaide, which included human rights within the definition of social work and its core mission. Those standards compel social workers to oppose torture and terrorism and push for inclusivity for marginalized communities.
And for practitioners, this means continually reflecting on their power, actively seeking out the voices of their clients, and forming partnerships with communities and movements that strive for justice in social, economic, and political structures. This focus on collaboration and advocacy is essential for effective social work.
As we wrap up today's episode, let's encourage our listeners, whether you're in training or already practicing social work, to consider where human rights appear in your daily decisions. Each interaction is an opportunity to uphold dignity, security, and justice rather than maintain the status quo.
Remember, every discussion you engage in can be a step towards systemic change, whether it's advocating for your clients in meetings or creating community programs. Let's keep pushing for a world where every person can thrive with dignity.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you found this discussion on human rights in social work insightful and motivational. Until next time, keep advocating for justice and remember, the power for change starts with you.